Professor Thomaidis, thanks a lot for your interesting presentation. We have learned lots of things about how you monitor the quantities of drugs, of chemical substances in our environment, in our water, and I have also to congratulate you for your whole activity during the pandemic and this precious data that you provided to the several scientific boards that you participate.
Thank you very much.
I also agree with the remark of Professor Kalokerinos about the chemical world. It's actually a chemical world, I think.
It is a chemical universe.
Yes, yes.
Chemical universe, where stardust actually were consisted of things coming from the stars, as Carl Sagan was saying, and my friend Dionysis Simopoulos.
We have to live in a chemical world because we need all these chemicals.
Exactly.
My question to Professor Thomaidis, if you allow me to call him Nikos, is probably we have to move fast to green chemistry, which I don't know how fast we can go in order to make environmentally friendly chemicals. Is this correct or not?
Yes, this is correct. And in fact, there is a big movement, let's say, from several institutes and researchers above in Europe and US. And of course, green chemistry is already established and sustainable chemistry is already in place. But we have to take into consideration 2 points. One, it seems that the catalytic or all these new processes, green processes, are more expensive. And second, the properties of substances that are problematic from environmental point of view somehow cannot be overcome from new chemicals. I will give one example, diclofenac. We all know diclofenac is an active substance of Voltaren, okay? It is an SID that it is widely used. It is proved that has toxic effects in the environment and causes several problems in the food chain. But there are no active and cheap substitutes so far. It has been calculated that in order to remove diclofenac from the wastewater treatment plants, not to end up to the environment, for instance, in Spain, we will need, for instance, 5 billion euros per year. Therefore, there are several constraints to effectively remove chemicals.
And therefore, the result is that we should not throw pharmaceuticals in the sewage system.
Definitely, this is one major act we should do, but you should take into consideration that using chemicals, then we excrete these chemicals in the sewage system. Therefore, there is no way that we can,
Yes.
I have a question both for Mr. Beloukas and Mr. Thomaidis from your field. Mr. Thomaidis pointed out that during the pandemic, we had also an overuse of drugs, especially drugs related to mental health. Also, in other papers, I had seen evidence about heroin, cocaine, and other drugs, hard drugs. Did you have any evidence about overuse of antibiotics, which are ineffective in the case of COVID, but most people, they use antibiotics just for nothing, just for the common cold. They don't know that an antibiotic is ineffective in such a virus. And also, Mr. Beloukas, if you had cases of people who were using antibiotics, sometimes just for prevention.
Yeah, if I may, it was obvious from the wastewater data we have from the period of pandemic till now that antibiotics use has been increased almost 70%. specific substances like azithromycin and clarithromycin mostly that are, for the pulmonary disease. And definitely the problem of abuse of use of antibiotics is related to antibiotic resistance, as you know, in the environment. And this is strongly correlated to the pandemics that are coming in the future. Therefore, it is a very emerging issue, antibiotic resistance in the environment.
Mr. Beloukas?
Yes, just what something on what Professor Thomaidis said. Actually, I was thinking to put some slides in my presentation about another, it's not epidemic, it's another pandemic, the antimicrobial resistant pandemic. So another problem, health-related problem that we face as humanity, I mean, it's due to the extents and in most cases, including Greece, as Professor Thomaidis said, at the microbials, we have an extend rates of multi-drug resistant bacteria and pan-resistant bacteria that are circulating not only in
pan-resistant.
Yeah, pan-resistant. Yeah. For instance, Acinetobacter baumannii, the ones that are isolated in clinics, in ICUs, they are pan-resistant. So we don't have any antibiotics to treat those infections today because they have accumulated resistance to all existing antibiotics. And here is another problem because the pharmaceutical companies, they don't invest in the production of new antibiotics. They prefer to produce other, let's say, drugs or even vaccines. So R&Ds from pharmaceutical companies are, let's say, are towards new vaccines or other therapeutics rather than antibiotics, and we are lacking solutions in some cases. So it's another ongoing pandemic, as we call it, the antimicrobial resistance pandemic, that it's also ongoing. And we have a huge problem in several countries, including Greece.
Also, I remember from the first stages of the pandemic, people using remdesivir and other drugs just as a measure of prevention because Donald Trump, he was speaking in favor of this drug, and people who are completely health illiterate giving advices. We have many cases of such people.
Yeah. If I can add to this, during the first wave of pandemic in Athens, we have detected several antiviral drugs that are simply used in hospitals just to test their effectiveness on COVID patients. Several of them that were not detected before, and of course, disappeared after the first wave of the pandemic. And it has one major point of the first wave of COVID-19 was the use of several antiviral drugs.
Thank you. Any other question from our colleagues?
I have two questions.
Yeah.
One is for Dr. Beloukas and the other is for Professor Kalahanis. Dr. Beloukas, are all these epidemics due to internationalization, or maybe due to traveling around, or maybe to something else?
For sure, the pandemics. So Dr. Kalahanis mentioned about the MERS epidemic back in 2007, 2008, that it was, let's say, the epicenter of this epidemic was in Middle East. That actually means the MERS. It's a Middle East respiratory syndrome. So this epidemic was localized there in Middle East, so it stayed there. And although the death rate was exceeding 20-25%, if I remember correct, it stayed over there, and we managed, let's say, to eliminate the impact over there. But for the pandemics like SARS-CoV-2, of course, international travelers and the globalization of traveling is the main reason of having pandemics like the COVID-19. And of course, it's considered the main reason that will cause pandemics in the coming decades as well.
Yeah, thank you.
For instance, we know that it has been proven that SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 came into Europe from the Chinese first year celebration in mid-January back in 2020, when all the brands from Italy, Milan, Rome, they went to the all the Chinese people, they went back to China to celebrate their first year day, and when they came back, they let's say they introduced the epidemic in Europe.
Okay, thank you. Now a question for Professor Kalakhanis.
Yeah, and then we'll have Dr. Maritza. Another question.
Climate change and human health. Is it possible to change the climate change?
Climate change, to change the climate change? I don't think so. I think that it's inevitable, so we have to deal with the consequences.
Okay, and then how can we improve our health?
Just good practices in our everyday life. Give up smoking, healthier eating habits, sustainable development like the reduction of fossil fuels, or possibly environmental friendly technologies for fuels like lignitis, το εθνικό μας καύσιμο, and the implementation of renewable energy resources in every place that it could be possible and environmental friendly. Just to make our life a little bit better, and some very simple good practices like we leave our house, let's turn off the air condition, to use to recycle. Very simple things in our everyday life. None of us is going to save the world. I think no one is a superhero. But what I say to my students is that you can be a superhero of yourself. Just do what you have to do. What we say now in Greek, το δέον. Τον δέον γενέστε, τίποτε άλλο.
Try to apply as much as we can circular economy, which I explained yesterday.
Exactly.
I think Dr. Maritza, thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Maritza.
Okay, thank you. Let us think that COVID-19 and the bioevents is a natural erasure of health boundaries. So this is how globalization actually is implemented throughout the nation. It's an erasure of national boundaries. So like COVID-19 penetrated nations, this is how globalization actually acts on nations. So we have to see it and view it and meticulously analyze it and be aware of protecting our cultures and our history. So that is what I wanted, I wanted to parallel those two things. The COVID-19 penetration throughout the nations is like globalization penetrates throughout nations, and it's a national erasure of cultures, and we have to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's a very useful remark.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Any other questions from any colleague, from Mr. Harokopoulos, Mr. Psathas, or anybody else?
No, any questions by my side? I think that we have concluded this first part of the session. I don't know if there are any other question.
So I'd like to thank you also for your collaboration, also for the fact that everyone was in line with time limits, which are essential for the success of a conference. And I wish you all the best in your scientific activities.
Can I make a
Thank
last
you.
Ναι, παρακαλώ.
Mr. Harkopoulos, I think we have to say that Thanasias will not give his lecture because he is in the
Exactly.
maternity hospital.
I will make an
Wait.
I will make an announcement.
Είναι στο μευτήριο, γεννάει η γυναίκα του και του ευχόμαστε ό,τι καλύτερο με τη γέννα. Αυτό ήθελα να πω. Ευχαριστώ.
Yes, let me make an announcement. Due to the emergency reasons, Professor Thanasias will not be with us due to this fact. He is in the maternity hospital, and I have to say one more thing, that we have a long break, about 1 hour, due to another modification of the program, because two of our speakers are not able to be with us due to unforeseen circumstances. So we are going to start at 14:30 with Professor Solomon Stavros' presentation, then with the presentation of Mr. Mukesh Siman Bhatt, and we are going to end the today's presentation with Mr. Professor Zorofos Stelios' presentation. So I kindly request Konstantinos to be back at 15:45 just for wrap up and closing remarks of the day, if it's possible.
I'm gonna be at a class at 3 o'clock. At 3:45, it's possible. I'm gonna call you on the phone.
Okay.
I'm gonna call you on the phone on time.
Okay. So long break until 14:30. 3 presentations more for today, and we are going to end at 1400. Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Okay, thank you.
Very